Alright, so in my Transcendence preview video, where I go through across all my characters, which are WS, SD, LP, and DL, I said at the end that I'd make review videos for each of them, so here I am. The rest of the review videos should come before the next patch, which is in about a week or so. I'll try my best to stick to that schedule. So the first thing I need to explain is probably my skill key placement for Transcendence. It's like, how did it end up become right control, right? The thing is that I wanted to keep my left hand's muscle memory the same, primarily because my jump key is C. If you haven't noticed by now, I can press C for you right now. Whee! There you go. And then that's why energy absorption is on V. So I wanted to keep that muscle memory intact. So I looked towards my right hand, thought, okay, what keys could my right hand reach that that would be pretty good? The first thing I thought was the closest one, which is up arrow. That didn't work out so well. The reason why is because my middle finger is on the down arrow, obviously. So moving it up to press skills was actually kind of weird to me, because I do use I do use the down arrow a lot for for just landing faster from jumping in the air and such. So like landing and then pressing a skill was actually kind of weird to me. So definitely that muscle memory I didn't want to kind of intrude on. So I looked towards probably the second closest skill, or rather the second closest key, which is right control. Right control actually felt really good because it was using my index finger, and my index finger doesn't really get that much uses besides pressing left, and I mean, you move left to right in this game usually, so it's not it doesn't get as much mileage, so I can actually incorporate the muscle memory into it. And even if I need to move left, I can always just shift my hand so that my middle finger is on the left key, and then my down arrow is occupied by my ring finger. So it all worked out like that, and I got really comfortable with it, and I liked it right away. Okay, so let's talk about SD specifically now. So my SD first. Usually when I do these videos where I just recap everybody, I always do WS first because of chronological order, right? The reason why is because SD's Transcendence is the most interesting. By most interesting, I mean it's also really buggy, and I really enjoy bugs and showing them to people. But besides the bugs, your new skills have very situational uses, or rather the ones that I'm going to end up using, as you can see by my skill bar. And since I really enjoy trying to find situations or force setups so that these situational skills have their moment to shine, it really appeals to me a lot. So I guess I'll just show you how it goes. But first things first, we need to talk about the passives, right? So we'll talk about those, then we'll talk about the skills. Okie dokie. Alright, so Awaken Will. Awaken Will is like a mix of PvP and PvE things, but the PvE things are definitely very good, very good. So let's just go over this. The hit stun duration plus, I mean they call it flinch here, and the chance to ignore guard and defense with normal attacks, that's okay. It's mostly for PvP. PvE is just added bonuses, right? The important one is the next two, which are when you're at max orbs, you get 200 resist and 50% debuff duration decrease. That debuff duration decrease stacks with energy activation here, which is 35%, and you get so much that when you get flattened by the 4x counter things, you just flop right back up. On top of that, the plus 200 resist is very good for dealing, or not dealing, rather surviving from GOD elixir mods in heroic. So that'd be like Denef and Blazing Ring, right? It's also saved me in, I believe, Henny with Magmata poison, because I've definitely gotten hit in that for a couple times, and it might be also be because of the debuff duration decrease, but that poison just wore off like instantly. So I am very grateful towards those two lines there. And the last one is like when you're at 0 orbs, when you use any skill that doesn't use up any orbs, you get one of them back. This applies to anything, including hyperactive for reasons beyond me, because usually hyperactive is the exception to these things. But yeah, it does. The most important skill to take advantage of that is reverse trade counter switch, because counter switch costs 0 with reverse trade. So after something like Kite or Fallen Dragon's Repression, you can actually do just counter switch and you'll get one or back right away, and then you'll be on your business, or like be away on your business. So yeah, overall, there like for at least the last 3 lines, those are very good. They're very good to have just because they just keep you going, and they give you even more incentive to stay at max orbs on top of abundant power, and it's just adding on to what you're probably already doing, which is good. It's good. So now, Valor and Devotion. Valor and Devotion is kind of funky in terms of activation for both parts. So the Valor portion, I'll show off here. To activate the Valor half of the passive, you just need to use an orb skill, or 10 orb skill. So your options are Falling Dragon, Suppression, Kite, right? Falling Dragon, Suppression, you always activate it. Kite, not so much. As you can see on the top right, it doesn't activate the passive. And what I feel might be happening is that it might be counting the skill as 9 orbs, because you use 1 orb like preemptively for the first teleport. There's a couple ways to fix this. Probably the easiest way is to get, well, the 10th orb. And the way to do that is kind of funky, but I can show you that that is what you need to do by using the F7 key here. There you go. There's the passive. Okay. So how do you get that 10th orb? Well, the easiest way and the most common and the accidental way is for your pet to attack and actually kill like a mob as you activate Kite. There's one way you can force it. Let me see if RNG will be kind to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we just have to wait for this. Okay, and then there you go. So if you didn't know, Fire Lotus, the wheel part, it counts as a hit towards the Unmo counter. So if you're 1 hit away from gaining the Unmo, whatever they call it, where you just gain back HP and an orb, you can time it just right with Kite, and you'll get that 10th orb. There is one last way to do it, but it's very specific. So hopefully, hey, okay, nice. So if you have a speed buff, like a radically fast speed buff, then you'll also get it to activate. And I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe because the game is now counting it as like all 10 orbs together. It's kind of odd, but I'm not really sure. Besides the Type S set, you can also do it with Encourage. Those are the two main ones. I think there's a few more, but in terms of things you can proc by yourself, those are the two main ones. For devotion, it's actually a little bit finicky as well. If you're not familiar with counter switch, there's two animations to counter switch, and it actually does say in the tooltip, but I'll just go through them. But there's two possibilities when you counter something. It's either that you're going to get the turnaround animation, which gives you the damage outlined in the tooltip, or you're just going to flip back and in Super Mario and have invincibility frames at the end of that flip. The passive only activates when you get the turnaround animation. If you get the flip back, it doesn't work. So for kind of like range situations, like say like a shadow sniper, like if you counter the beam from it, you don't get the passive, unfortunately. There are a couple things in PvE that you can forcefully like activate this passive on. The ones I can think of are the fire DOT in Lanox SD. This one's kind of weird because it can activate both the turnaround and the flip back, and I'm not really sure what dictates what, but the possibility is definitely there. Avalanche ice arrows, that's a classic right there. For whatever reason, that activates the turnaround. And then the last one is the Uno Hound Lariat. The reason why I list that one is because it's just very slow, like starting up. So you can basically just telegraph your timing much better, rather than kind of just guesstimating when to counter. And yeah, you'll get it pretty reliably. In fact, I think you can just run into it, and I think you slide forward a little bit when you do counter while running. Yeah, a little bit. So you can just run into it while countering, and yeah, you'll counter the lariat. So like in terms of actually like using it, it's actually very hard for me to use it at all. For Valor, I explained to you the kite funkiness, and I only use kite in dungeons. So it specifically goes to Henier because I'll switch out kite for suppression to be a little bit more reliable. Even like getting the passive buff from Valor, I'm not sure if it's entirely worth it, because while I do get 12 orbs from Dragon Art, it's 11. Well, it's actually 6 by default, 5 with Valor, 1 from Awakened World, right? I'm not entirely sure it's worth it because I feel that I end up in a situation where I actually have less MP. Especially because suppression, it used to give back insane amounts of MP, but not so much anymore. So I'm like, it still might be good for when I actually need the suppression debuff, and it's just like a nice little bonus to get back up to max orbs instantly. But it's not something that I should probably fish for like all the time or do it constantly. Just at select when the time is right. As for devotion, it's like, I mean, I don't even have counter switch in my dungeon layout, so it's only Henier. But it definitely does have some use in Henier because, as I said, the fire in Lanox SD, well, the boss also has fire, right? So I can just counter that easy. Another important one is the Scar initial attack, where if you're close enough, you can actually counter that, and you'll actually get the turnaround passive, turnaround attack animation. If you're not close enough, you just get hit, which is kind of weird, but yeah. So just looking out for like attacks that you can definitely fish for is important to. Excuse me. Sorry. Important to use. Point to get the most out of devotion. Oh man, that break just totally cuts my rhythm, but that's okay. All right. Oh yeah, one last thing. I don't use Tiger Art, so the change there's a change where the MP consumption decrease on Valor gets reduced to like 10%. No good. well, A, it's kind of sucky, but B, I don't even use it, so whatever. Yeah. Let's move on here. Get to go to skills now. So Flame Lower Strike. So let's talk about some hitboxes first, because yeah, I am known for hitboxes. Okay, so first strike. Pretty good. Second strike. Pretty good. Third strike. Yeah, not really. So, the first strike is the reason why I have the training monkey set up like this. It hits about that high, and it goes about that far. It's very far, actually. Second strike, it actually hits even further. I think it's like over 2 platforms high, and then as well, it also suctions in mobs ever so slightly, which can be actually useful. The third strike's kind of just like icing on the cake. The last hit does do a launch, but you can basically just catch it off with whatever you want. So that, etc. Right? I think the third strike's most useful just for having more active frames that are literally free, because the second and third strikes don't cost anything. So, in terms of like how to actually use this skill, definitely the first strike is the most important. Right? And the reason why it's the most important is not only because it's the one that takes up all your resources, because you have to use the 100 MP up front, but also because it has the best utility because you're moving forward. Previously, the best thing you had was like this. Not really that good, and you give up Dragon Art for 8 seconds to do it. So with this, like, you have a way to move forward that you originally did not, and that can be useful because otherwise you're just like walking forward and hoping that the mob doesn't randomly do something super armor while you're trying to confirm into it. For me, at least, because I use my normals to approach mobs, and sometimes that doesn't work out with a bunch of super armor that happens in later dungeons. So, it's a good approach skill, but the second and third strikes are still just as important for a different reason besides the hitboxes, at least for the third or for the second strike. So I'm gonna try to show you here. There you go. Okay, so what happened? Well, the best way I can explain it to you is with a different skill. A skill people are more familiar with would be add pylons. So there's a trick with pylons where you can basically get infinite pylons by tricking the cooldown. And the way that you trick the cooldown is when the timer for casting pylons is almost up, it's about like 5 seconds or so, as you cast the second and third pylon, if it's when the skill should be on cooldown, the game will treat that pylon as the first pylon, and you'll get another 2 pylons. And you can do that infinitely to get, well, infinite pylons. The same concept applies here, where if you're on the second strike or third strike, you can't, like, if you can fill in that 4-second window, I think it is 4 seconds that you have to go into the next part, yeah. If you can time it just right when you're skill canceling, you can get the first hit again, and then you're refreshing your strikes. And remember, the first strike is the most important because of not only its hitbox, but just like how like what it gives you, like what else it gives you in terms of like moving forward and such. And then okay, so what exactly is the benefit of doing this trick? Well, on top of just getting your strikes back. Well, let's see here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, as you can see, I end up at 327, 328. Okay, so let me do it normally. I end up at like 293, 294, right? And even if you take out the cost of the Z's that I did, or the gain, MP gain that I got from those Z's, it's like, well, what makes up the rest of the difference? And the thing is that when you get this trick to work, it takes the MP cost of the second and third strikes, which is 0, right? But you also gain the energy from doing the first strike, or rather the orb, which, you know, I'm trying to keep consistent with my wording here. But so what ends up happening is that you get the refresh strikes, but you also do it at a 0 MP cost, and you gain 1 orb. And that 1 orb can get you faster to max orbs, or it can get you 20 MP thanks to abundant power. It is really good. Really, really good. I would say that if you're having trouble with this trick, just go into the second strike. Or just go into the next strike. Second or third, doesn't matter. Earlier is better because at least you get the cancel and you're committing to this trick, right? If you're late, you're likely going to not be able to react in time and cancel with a different skill. It's actually really hard. And depending on the skill that you're canceling, depending on its cancel window, you might not even have a chance. So I don't think the skill will be used a lot, and the main reason why is because it is slow. That is slow. Let's be honest here. That's definitely slow. And since speed is the name of the game, for the general consensus in PvE, yeah, I don't see it getting much usage. But where its strength lies is in how you approach a screen, or you can or how you can set up like further things with the CD trick, and that's what I like about it the most. If you're also looking for something execution based, the CD trick might also be for you because it takes some finessing with Z's and X's to get the timing right with skills. And if you're wondering, it doesn't just work with Shadow Weave. It works with Matchless. I think I've had it set up with Wind Wedge. You can also do it off of Dash X. It's really hard though. I'll try it later. But yeah. And even if it didn't have the CD trick benefits, I would still use it just for the first strike. I really, really love that first strike. Alright. So let's see. Next skill. Charging Fury. So I guess I'll just place this there. Okay, so this skill is actually, ironically, probably the most likely to get used by SDs in PvE. It's kind of like a mix of Quick Thrust, just with 1 extra hit, and Wind Wedge, and then at the end you just do a pass through, and that pass through is actually kind of why I won't use it. And let me see if I can explain it here with some doodling here. So this is a personal thing with me. It's not necessarily the skill's fault, but just mostly my fault, and I want to prevent it. So let's see. Let's imagine I'm here, right? And then there's the enemy here, enemy here. I'm not even gonna fit the circle area. Okay. So if I use it here, I worry that like if I don't cancel it, I'll get stuck in the middle. And to me, SD is really good at controlling the space in front of her really well with like Shadow Weave, Fire Lotus, like etc, right? So I don't see the point of why I should like split my coverage so that mobs are behind me. The only time I would want to have mobs behind me is when I would want to drag them forward with Shadow Weave. And you know, I already have like Dash Jump X to set up that properly. So let me do that. Okay. So beyond like the mindset things, there's also a couple things that I don't really like about it. The cancel point for this thing is very early. If you try to like late reaction cancel it, it won't work. I'm trying to cancel in the steel body here, and it's just not working. On top of that, you see where I end up with the speed buff? Without the speed buff, I actually go a little bit further. And that difference, while it's very slight, can be the difference between me getting pushed back in front of a mob or pushed back or pushed behind it. I don't know how the game will like factor that in, and I don't want that unpredictability because speed buff will definitely proc on his active. Also, when you have the speed buff up, it's actually even hard. Like the cancel window is actually even earlier. Yeah, I'm not really sure I want that. The last thing is that, again, this is just a mindset thing, is that I want my skills, or I want my actives to be kind of like chain enders. Because if I have this, I have to cancel it in order to not pass through, right? So what if I have energy absorption and still body off, like unavailable to use, and that's what worries me, essentially, and that's why I have it set up like this, is because I want to be able to just stop the skill chain. Otherwise, I will do like a part of a skill that I don't want to do, and I just want more control in those situations. It is definitely a good active, don't get me wrong, but it's just not meant for me. Okay, so let's go to the last skill here, which is Spear Dance, or rather, as the game calls it, Tiger Stance, Fierce Spear Dance. Okay, so I've been through a lot with this skill. The preview video had the first hit, which I believe is called the swing here. Yeah. The LWiki had the damage of the first strike be triple. Okay, so in the preview, I know that I thought that I would just use the first strike and just have the extra as a bonus if I wanted to, right? Because it would act pretty identical to Matchless Truth in that regard, without having the whole potentially KDing mobs, and that's what I thought I would use it as. But since the damage is so low on it, I can't use it as a full-on cancel skill. Okay, for just the first strike, so that got trashed. That's all. So I tried using the whole skill during my level 90 passive unlock adventures. Every situation I could think up of, I would just think, why not just Fire Lotus? Spear Dance, the Spear Advance of Spear Dance, they call it Spear Advance Firelight, but that doesn't push super armor. Lotus does, and on top of that, Lotus is just a lot more reliable with how much pushback it has. It got to the point where I almost considered switching back to Matchless, because I thought, well, I'm just not getting what I want out of this, and excuse me, and what I do get out of it, I'm not sure if I can really not sure if I can really set it up correctly. So I found a few things to make it work. We'll see if it's worthwhile for you. Okay, so first realization I had is it's a corner skill. Okay, and I don't mean the literal corner. Don't use it in a corner, because you'll get that. That's a lot kind of like original Quick Buster, where you had to be very careful about using it against walls and such, or rather against corners and off platform edges and such. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. So I can't really show you an accurate number of hits because I have my weapon on, but this will do the trick. Okay, so this skill does 17 hits total. Okay, so that's 1 hit for the swing, 1 hit for the throw, and then 15 for the Spear Advance. This ends up being that it totals about 6.6k physical, and that's actually really good because it rivals Cancel Shadow Weave, and that is basically a staple of like SD's like skill set, right? So having like a good like corner alternative to that is a-okay in my book. On top of that, well, that exists. And as far as I can tell, that still exists in KR. I don't know when they'll fix that. Okay, so how do you get things to the corner? Well, I said something about Fire Lotus, right? Well, why not just use that? Okay, so let me point my mouse to this paint here, and I'll just do this. Okay, so imagine me here. It's like one platform above me, one platform here, and then one platform below me, right? And then Lotus is kind of like this gigantic blob of everything. Actually, it's more like here-ish. Here we go. No. Here we go. Here-ish, and I'll just put some spikes on it so that you know. Okay, and then so what happens is that when you use Lotus, if it's on a map that has like a corner and such, what happens is it'll just keep on pushing all these mobs forward until it hits this corner, because they all have to come down. They're not just gonna keep flying across on the same elevation they're on, right? And this is where Spirit Dance I feel like shines. So you can't necessarily use it just like willy-nilly to get the most out of it. You do have to set it up. Beyond Fire Lotus, you also have Shadow Weave. As long as you don't use that against the wall, you can use that to gather. You also have your normals like Dash CZ, Dash CX, right? Just tools like that. You definitely do have, like, SC does have the capability to set things up properly for Spirit Dance. But keep in mind that, yeah, like, non-situationally, it doesn't really get much mileage. Okay. So now the fun part is that there's a bug with this skill. You know how I said that I wouldn't be able to use this as a full-on cancel skill? Well, it's kinda half a lot. So what happened here? How did I get the orbs? Well, apparently these orbs are from Spirit Dance, but I didn't cancel it. The weird thing is that the Spirit Dance gets the orb cancel amount, which is 4, but you can't get it by just doing another skill. It has to specifically be Dash X for whatever reason, because Dash X is a skill. So maybe what it's doing is that it's taking like the orb game cancel from the Spirit Advance and then just applying it. And I can show you here because if you just hit with the first 2 hits, you actually won't get the 4 orbs. Like that. I think so, at least. Let me check here. Yeah, you can see. So it has to be with the Spirit Dance. It's really weird too, but yeah. The best benefit about this is that not only do you get the damage off of it, especially if you have things in a corner, but you also get to be right back up to max orbs, which is, you know, abundant power and awakened will territory, which is where you want to be honest, as SD. This bug is why I have Steel Body, actually. Otherwise, I probably would not have it on here. So, Steel Body, it has kind of like a quirk where if you don't cancel it, or cancel like the recovery with movement keys, you get like a longer super armor. So I can show you here, where that's with movement key cancel, and then that's without. You can see how much of a difference that is. So when you do that, that means that you're protecting yourself from any stoic bursts that happen in the later half of Spirit Advance, and that also keeps your positioning instead of being like knocked down and having to just like roll forward or having to like deal with any potential like mob RNG. And I feel that's really good. So, do you remember the Flame Lotus Strike bug? Well, you can also do it with Spirit Dance. I'll give it one try. Nope, I couldn't get it. It's too early. But you get the idea where you can actually fuse the two bugs together. It's really good, really good. Okay, so let me just recap this. So, Transcendence SD definitely gave her more flavor by adding like situational tools to her art, like potential arsenal. Your mileage will definitely vary if you like this Transcendence or not for the skills, but personally I do. For the skills that I'm going to keep, that'd be like Flame Lotus Strikes and Spirit Dance. Lotus Strikes is really good for approaching, and it's really good because of the CD trick bug. And Spirit Dance is really good for just capitalizing on corners in a way that if you don't have Shadow Weave or you want to keep it for something else, you have that option now. On top of, you know, the 4 orb bug that I don't know how that works. The passes themselves, they're really good bonuses. Valor and Devotion is a little bit finicky to activate, but it can be worth it. Awaken Will, the full orbs benefits of having more resistance and being debuffed for less are extremely useful, and just getting the extra energy when you're at 0 just sets you off to get max orbs again. So overall, I think I like this Transcendence. It's definitely my favorite of the 4. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching and listening. I tried my best to get through this as fast as I could. It's obviously really hard because there's a lot to go. There's a lot to go through. I'm pretty sure that the other characters' videos won't be as long because, you know, I'll have less things to talk about. I'll be quite honest. Okay. So, thank you for watching and listening, and listening or watching. I got my order mixed up, but I do appreciate it, and I'll catch you next video. Take care.